It's 14 trivia questions on athletes that are also actors. Remember Shaq and Kazaam? Yeah. This is Trivia with Buds. What it be? And welcome to another glorious episode of the Trivia with Buds podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Buds. I am full of Arnold Palmers, and I am ready to deliver some trivia to you. Today's episode is all about athlete actors, and it was written by my friend and pal and contributor to the show, Brian Salyer. He is a trivia player who always has some great ideas for topics and questions, and he's like, hey, if you want to use these, do whatever you want with them. We've used, I think, 2 or 3 other sets of his questions on recent daily episodes in the last month or 2. So hopefully you have fun reliving these questions and seeing how many of these athlete actors you remember. I'm sitting in my house, sitting in my man cave, and the family just went to Disneyland. We have season passes, and that is like their thing they like to do every few weeks, and gets them out of the house, gets the kids engaged in some fun stuff, and then the house is nice and quiet with me and the dogs. All the dogs are sleeping around me in different piles, and I can record a bunch of podcasts and get some stuff done. Speaking of getting stuff done, I just got a brand new office printer. It is a Canon MF232W, something like that. And it was $100 at Walmart. I highly recommend this printer. It's a laser printer. I've never had one of those, but I print a lot of bingo cards, answer sheets, and different things for trivia prizes. And I thought, I'm going to get one. So I got it and tried it out yesterday. It's fantastic. It prints a page in about 3 seconds. And each cartridge, it says 1,700 pages approximately, and you can get the black toner cartridges on Amazon for $16. So I figured that was a no-brainer to save a little bit of money at my local printers. And so I'll be using that. If you need a good office printer, check it out. I highly recommend it so far. We're going to jump into these questions about athlete actors, but I did want to mention we're doing a special deal right now. If you become a $5 Patreon subscriber over at patreon.com/trivia with buds, not only do you get the perk of a thank you in the show notes every episode and sometimes some fun shout outs, not only do you get the chance to pick a topic that we do once a month, like we have coming up with some of our Patreon subscribers. We have some great ones. We did one on Nickelodeon Snick over the last weekend. We have one coming up on we did one on How I Met Your Mother. We have one coming up on Rick and Morty. There's all kinds of stuff that you can pick to be topics on the show. Anything you can think of, you get to do that for $5 a month. But a special deal right now, if you sign up to be a $5 or more month patron, you get a enamel pin if you like those. I keep all my enamel pins on my visor in my 2009 Hyundai Sonata, and when I have a nice sunny day, I put it down and I go, oh, there's all my pins. But you could do whatever you want with them. Some people wear them on a denim jacket. I call those people badasses, and I don't have a denim jacket, but I will eventually put one on a jacket at some point, I think, or maybe a hat. I know people that do that. But this one is of Kevin from The Office about to spill a giant pot of chili. And it was drawn and designed by my friend Drew A. Blank. And the next 5 subscribers at the $5 level will get a free Office Kevin chili pin. It's very cool. I think you'll love it, especially if you like the show or you know somebody that really likes the show. Sign on up. Get that pin sent to you. If you like this show, leave it an iTunes review. We're up to 100 and something iTunes reviews, and those help get more eyes and ears on the show. Go to iTunes, give me a nice 5-star ski review if you dig it. Tell me what you like in detail. That is very, very cool when people do that. We're going to jump into these questions from Brian Salyer, athlete actors. Let's see how many of these you know. Here we go. All right, athlete actors, question number 1. This athlete played himself as Mary's ex-boyfriend in Something About Mary. Who was it? Question number 1. This athlete played himself as Mary's ex-boyfriend in Something About Mary. Question number 2. He played a substitute teacher on Different Strokes and a pilot in a well-known comedy. Question number 2. He played a substitute teacher on Different Strokes and a pilot in a well-known comedy. Question number 3, this former catcher was the father on Mr. Belvedere but may better be known as Cleveland Indians announcer in Major League. Question 3, this former catcher was the father on Mr. Belvedere, but may be better known as the Cleveland Indians announcer in Major League. Question number 4, this former Met had a brief relationship with Elaine on Seinfeld. Number 4, this former Met had a brief relationship with Elaine on Seinfeld. Question 5, former Detroit Lion Alex Karras played George Papadopoulos on this sitcom. Number 5, former Detroit Lion Alex Karras, Karras, played George Papadopoulos on what sitcom? Question number 6, this disgraced athlete gave an inspirational speech and convinced Vince Vaughn's character not to quit his dodgeball team, but never mentioned cheating to win. Number 6, this disgraced athlete gave an inspirational speech and convinced Vince Vaughn's character not to quit his dodgeball team, but never mentioned cheating to win. Number 7, this athlete known as Mr. October was programmed to kill the Queen in The Naked Gun. Question number 7, this athlete known as Mr. October was programmed to kill the Queen in The Naked Gun. Question number 8, the gang at Cheers hired this former Celtic as a bartender in order to win a basketball game against a rival bar. Question number 8, the gang at Cheers hired this former Celtic as a bartender in order to win a basketball game against a rival bar. Question number 9, on Family Guy, this athlete moved down the street from the Griffins and threw wild parties. Number 9 on Family Guy, looking for the athlete who moved down the street from the Griffins and threw wild parties. Number 10, Boston Bruin Cam Neely used his hockey toughness to play this character in Dumb and Dumber. What was the character's name? Number 10, Boston Bruin Cam Neely used his hockey toughness to play what character in Dumb and Dumber? Number 11, these two female stars of MMA had roles in the Fast and the Furious series. Who were they? Number 11, two female stars of MMA had roles in the Fast and the Furious series. Who were they? Number 12, it's hard to find someone that sizes up to Arnold Schwarzenegger, so they hired this man to play Bombada in Conan the Destroyer. Number 12, it's hard to find someone that sizes up to Arnold Schwarzenegger, so they hired this man to play Bombada in Conan the Destroyer. Number 13, he probably won't be elected to the Acting Hall of Fame either, but this baseball player played Skidmark in the movie Kingpin. Number 13, he probably won't be elected to the Acting Hall of Fame either, but this baseball player played Skidmark in the movie Kingpin. And question 14, wrestling's Rowdy Roddy Piper came to do two things, kick ass and chew bubblegum, and was all out of bubblegum in this classic sci-fi movie. Number 14, wrestling's Roddy Piper came to do two things, kick ass and chew bubblegum, but he was all out of bubblegum in this classic sci-fi movie. All right, everybody. Those are your answers, or your questions for athlete actors from Brian Salyer. Great questions, Brian. Thank you. Let's see if you knew all the answers after this quick sound effect. All right, here we go. We're back with the answers to athlete actors. Here's question number 1. This athlete played himself as Mary's ex-boyfriend, and There's Something About Mary. It was Brett Favre, who spells his name Favre, like the bean, but it is Brett Favre in that movie, especially towards the end, I think is when he shows up with Chris Elliott and Matt Dillon and the whole crew. Number 2, he played a substitute teacher on Different Strokes and a pilot in a well-known movie, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's one of the pilots in Airplane, and he was a sub on Different Strokes. I don't think I've ever seen that episode. Number 3, this former catcher was the father on Mr. Belvedere and was the Cleveland Indians announcer in Major League, Bob Uecker. Love Bob Uecker, still alive, 70-something years old, and he is very funny. He was the dad on Mr. Belvedere with the British butler. Streaks on the China, never happened before, who cares? That is the lyrics that me and my brother Scott joked about a few episodes back, if you remember. Number 4, this former Matt had a brief relationship with Elaine on Seinfeld. Keith Hernandez, early episode of Seinfeld. Keith Hernandez. I feel like that never would have been a plot line of the show. Like Larry David probably was not into that, but they were like, we got to get like a celebrity on, in the early 90s. I feel like that was a network call. Number 5, former Detroit Lion Alex Karras played George Papadopoulos on the sitcom Webster. I watched Webster as a kid in reruns, but I don't know athletes, so I don't know who that is. Number 6, this disgraced athlete gave an inspirational speech and convinced Vince Vaughn's character not to quit his dodgeball team, but never mentioned cheating to win. Lance Armstrong. I think that was well before all his cheating became public. Number 7, this athlete was known as Mr. October and was programmed to kill the Queen of England in The Naked Gun, Reggie Jackson. Love that movie. He pulls the gun out of the underneath the base, first or third base or second base. I forget where he's at. Number 8, the gang at Cheers hired this former Celtic as a bartender in order to win a basketball game against a rival bar, Kevin McHale. Number 9, on Family Guy, this athlete moved down the street from the Griffins and threw wild parties. A friend of mine, Rob Gronkowski, and by friend of mine, I mean I worked on a show that he was the host of. We are not friends. But he is a funny dude, and people always ask me, they're like, is he like how he seems in real life? And he's exactly like that. He's just a fun, goofy dude, and always down to party. Number 10, Boston Bruin Cam Neely used his hockey toughness to play what character in Dumb and Dumber? That's a great question. Seabass. Kick his ass, Seabass. Number 11, these 2 female stars of MMA had roles in the Fast and the Furious series. We're looking for Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. Gina Carano was also in a movie called Haywire, maybe? I don't know. She has like some crazy fight scenes with dudes. I think it was called Haywire. And her and Channing Tatum have this diner brawl at the beginning of the movie. It's not a great movie. It's mostly just like a bunch of fight scenes, well choreographed, but kind of good. I think you should watch it. I think that's the name of it. Just look up Gina Carano movies. She's only been in a few. Number 12. It's hard to find someone that sizes up to Arnold Schwarzenegger, so they had this man play Bombada in Conan the Destroyer. That was Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain. He's had sex a lot, I understand from a certain statistic. Number 13. He probably won't be elected to the Acting Hall of Fame either, but this baseball player played Skidmark in the movie Kingpin. Don't remember this, but I've seen this movie a lot. Roger Clemens. I don't remember the character Skidmark. I forget what that's about. And 14, wrestling's Roddy Piper came to do 2 things, kick ass and chew bubblegum, and was all out of bubblegum in this sci-fi classic, They Live, one of the best fight scenes ever with Keith David. Look it up. It's like 20 minutes long. Roddy Piper, They Live. So those are your answers to the questions about athlete actors. How many did you get out of 14? Send me a message. Send me a tweet. Let me know how you did on today's show. I love seeing those little scorecards, your note cards, your Post-its, your stickies. That's fun for me. That makes me feel like people are really playing along. If you are driving, don't do a scorecard. Just do it out loud with whoever's in your car. Even if it's just you, you can yell and talk to yourself. What else is your car for? That's what I use it for. Thanks for listening to the show, guys. Thanks for telling a friend about this show. And if you have a topic you want to do, donate $5 over on patreon.com/trivia with buds. Join our growing community. We've got about 15, 16 players and patrons over there. And they get cool stuff sent from me every single month. And now that I got this giant laser printer, oh man, we're going to send coloring sheets. We're going to send letterhead. It's going to be very, very fancy. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. And we'll see you tomorrow for more trivia with buds. Cheers.